all modeled on America. And by the time my uncle took office, there was about 150, and by the end of the 60s, there's 190. They're all based on American model. And, we very much were the exemplary nation. We were the example of democracy around the globe, and and they were very conscious. They were embarrassed at first by the civil rights movement, because they said, what is the rest of the world going to think about it? And then they realized, well, we better correct, the problem.
Yeah.
Because, but everything that they did, they were conscious that they were being watched. What is the rest of the world think of American democracy right now? That, that we have in one party selected a man with dementia to lead the free world.
And
then turned around and picked a person, a woman who cannot give an interview. She cannot defend American vision or America's record in the world.
Sad.
And then she gave this, Vice President Harris gave this speech at the convention that was written by neocons. And they had CIA directors talking at the Democratic Convention, military people talking at the Democratic Convention. My father and my uncle were the party of anti-war. Yes. My uncle was asked by his best friend, Ben Bradley, one of his two best friends who ran the Washington Post, what do you want on your gravestone, your epitaph? And my uncle said immediately he kept the peace. He said the primary job of a president of the United States was to keep the country out of war. He said he didn't want children in Africa and Latin America and Asia, when they heard about the United States of America, to think of a man with a gun. They wanted them to think of a Peace Corps volunteer and the Alliance for Progress and USAID, which were programs that he created to build the middle class, to end run the oligarchs, end run the military juntas that used to receive U.S. aid, and instead go directly to the poor and build institutions, education and health and all of the institutions of democracy.
That's right.
To continue to model it for the rest of the world and live up to what we were supposed to be doing, which is to encourage the growth of democratic rule. So now you have we have a system that's produced people who, a candidate in the Democratic Party who can't even defend America's record in the world, and who is parroting this kind of warmongering, military domination ideology that's gotten us in such trouble. It's caused a calamity in our country.
Yes.
Period.
It's gutted the middle class. It's made us a pariah around the globe. It led to the rise of BRICS. It's leading to the rise of totalitarianism all over the world.
Period.
And, I'd say this finally, that if you really look at what's happening in the Democratic Party today, it's a party that the word demos in Greek means people. But it's a party that's lost faith in the people.
Yes.
It's a party that needs ironclad control. So they didn't trust anybody to have a real election. They got rid of the primaries because they didn't trust the people.
Wow.
They then handpicked Vice President Harris with no election, no even pretense of election, because they didn't trust the people. And, they're the party now of censorship.
The party of censorship.
And
how can you have a democracy with...
I mean, that piece right there is so powerful. When I heard this, I said, oh, he just summed it up in a nutshell. I am so glad he has joined Trump, because look at all of this
happy
perspective. Look at all of what he's saying is so real about from where his uncle and, dad, his family, and where it started and what it was supposed to have been, what they wanted, intended it to be. To look at it now.
That's why RK is perfect with Trump. And when Trump his terms is over, if RK decides to run again, he'll be the only Democrat, the only one I could bubble in on a Democratic option.
Yeah,
Section 230 immunity, and the White House was telling him, if you don't censor our political critics, we're going to take away your Section 230 immunity. if President Trump did that, the Democrats would go berserk.
Well, that's criminal behavior.
It's
Anyone who
criminal
does that is a criminal.
Right. They're violating the First Amendment of the Constitution, for starters.
Yeah.
And so that's what happened. And, you know, my idea is that if somebody does something bad, it shouldn't matter whether they're Democrat or Republican.
I agree.
It is, you know, we should all be going after them, and we should be going after them as a society.
No matter what the party of the person is, if they do something that's not right, regardless of the party, who the person, it should be, and we should be going together collectively.
Collectively.
Yeah, this interview was so good. I had to watch it. I was like, man, this is absolutely outstanding, just to listen to him speaking all these truths. And now they got him in court. You know that, right? He's
$10 million of his dollars having to be spent on this.
Yeah.
Thank God. Well, you have to have income to be able to go against the machine.
Exactly.
My Uncle Teddy, who was exactly opposite of Ronald Reagan, ideologically, and he ran against Carter.
Yeah.
Teddy did, and Carter and he had an antipathy toward each other that was almost, you know, like nothing I'd ever seen. Teddy didn't hate people, but he really, I would say, loathed Carter. He just had complete disdain for him, and he liked Reagan.
Wow.
And because I was more ideologically aligned at that point, I'd say to him, you know, why do you like Reagan? And he said, because even though I don't agree with anything he said, he was able to invigorate our country. He was able to inspire people. He got people excited about his vision and proud to be Americans. Mm-hmm. And that is one of the functions of a president. It's
exactly.
To explain to us why we should be proud of each other.
That's
and why
right.
we're part of a community, and why our country is great, and, you know, what our future is going to look like, and get us, and you know, inspire all of us with
Yes.
that vision. And that is
Yes.
what a real leader does. How
You
in
heard
the world
that,
can
didn't
you
you?
do that if you cannot give an interview to a news organ?
To a friendly news
To a
organization.
friendly news.
Yeah.
They can't even do a setup interview in 40 days. I saw the only interview she did that was unscripted was when she got off a plane. I think it was at Andrews Air Force Base, and so there was a reporter waiting there, and that, you know, with one question: when are you going to do an interview? And she said, I've told my team that to try to get one done
Try.
before September. This was the 3rd of August.
What he was talking about, what a president should make your society, its society
vision.
feel like.
Yes.
Like you're succeeding, like there is hope. That we as individuals, no matter the background, no matter the color, the race, can be successful in the country that you're living in, paying taxes in. You're being a productive citizen in society. That's real. And that's, he said, that's what leadership is.
And how he talks, it makes me think about when I listen to RFK, and especially when you talk about the leaders of the past, it makes you feel like, okay, I don't know about you, but when you hear him talking, he talk about the leaders, doesn't it make you feel like what America felt like and what it was then?
Yes.
Like in the past, whereas now it seems optional to be America, even if you're on American soil, an American, or you have come over as an immigrant and become an American citizen, it's optional now because you have too many options to make it optional. Whereas back then in his term, in the old Kennedy terms, they didn't have all these options to go and have all this, this traitorism.
Please.
And now we're in this and that's what they've been talking about since the 90s. I think that was the 90s. I looked back at the clip. Even when I looked back at Kent Hovind, he was like, that's what they want. They want a totalitarian system, which is more Luciferian. That's the satanic origin. That's what they want to be able to control this earth and this land, and especially in this country, is the satanic aura.
Yep.
You know, we're having girls in this country that are achieving puberty on average between 10 and 13 years old. That's 6 years less younger than they were, 80 years ago. We have the lowest puberty levels on any continent in the world here because we're just bombarding our children with endocrine disruptors. And there are chemicals like PCBs, polychlorinated biphenyls, atrazine, which can turn male frogs into females and produce fertile eggs. That's how potent they are as an endocrine disruptor, and it's in 63% of our water supply. PCBs, which I've been fighting since the day I became an environmental lawyer and getting them out of the Hudson. So, and for 40 years, I've been trying to get Republicans to talk about it. I talk Roger Ailes all the time, with both of us, who would let me occasionally onto Fox News to talk about it. But there was so much hostility from the Republican Party because it was like you're attacking corporate profit taking, and that these are chemicals, they're molecules. Who cares? They can't hurt you.
That's the problem sometimes on
and then you do
Republican
this
side.
incredible show on endocrine disruptors. And I'm like, oh my God, Tucker Carlson has just done the best show that's ever been done, showing, what's happening with endocrine disruptors and how they're just destroying us.
Wow.
And the Democrats went after you and the environmental movement. And I'm like, what? This is what we've been trying to get for 40 years, the Republicans to care about these issues. And they said, oh, he's saying that chemicals turn people gay and he's anti-gay and all this stuff. And that wasn't what you said at all. And that's not what anybody said. And what we're saying is we're destroying our children. That's what we're saying.
Yeah, in God's creation, which is not ours to destroy.
That's
Your
right.
description of why we protect nature and its role in our lives and what happens when you're cut off from nature and animals, but being part of nature, is the best I've ever heard, ever.
Yeah. So these are just some of the key facts that I felt that really, really stood out in this interview. And, I don't think I saw that episode, but I didn't realize that he was an environmental attorney.
Me either. Wow. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it makes so much sense. But this was one of the best interviews that I've seen, and he's hit so many points. If you haven't checked it out, you should definitely check it out, because listen to what he has to bring to the administration that, is going to support we the people.
Yeah, I think that was awesome. And this is the naturalism and the realism of people that we need to be speaking at a higher level for this country.
Yeah.
And this world, because America affects the planet.
Oh, yeah, exactly. But he spoke on key issues: what a true leader should do, what a true leader represents, what they exude in their country and for the people, and how the people should feel once they are able to attach themselves to the vision of the leader who is actually walking it out. What else did he talk about? He talked about how can the president lead us? How can a leader lead if they won't even have an interview to discuss what the vision, what the real vision is? A real interview, not one that's scripted, one that you really can pull from your own knowledge and experiences from and share with your interviewer.
That's a problem. From
the heart.
Alone. That's alone. Versus you don't have a vision on how the best for this country. You only have the interest for a small group. And that's not going to work. That's going to work. It's a lot of us here and a lot of different views. But one thing that matters outside of God is the overall health of this country. And I'm not just talking about from the food. I'm just talking about from our borders, from our currency, our oil, our food. All these things matter. And that should be the only thing that matters for this country, not what is other country trying to fatten your pockets. Keep it here. Make us healthy. Acknowledge God first. Make us healthy. Make sure this country runs better and better, not less and less.
And the most important thing, too, is then for the next generation of how it impacts and how it's really impacting our children with these environmental issues. So this was just really great.
All right, y'all. 2024.
Be more.
Talk less.
Yeah.
We'll see you on the next one.
Love you guys.